Let's get it.
I'm stuck. Financially, I have nothing. Christine had the house, I have nothing.
Wow.
My name is on property with everybody else. Probably nobody will cooperate now and play ball.
For me, that was one of the more heart-wrenching episodes or scenes in Sister Wives. Watching Janelle struggle with the realization that by involving herself and her family into the Brown family and getting tied up with Kody, that she could actually work her whole life to try to build with a family, only to walk away from that family with nothing. Now, I find this ironic because, for the most part, TLC has put forward the Brown family and the Sister Wives program as the polygamy propaganda program. I've called it that before. And today, I want to kind of address what my concerns would be with regard to polygamy. Now, before I get into it, I would simply ask that if you guys are enjoying my content, you go ahead and give me the thumbs up. It's easy to do, and guess what, y'all? It's free. Just for today, it's free. So give me that thumbs up. Let me know you're enjoying the content. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? It's easy to do as well. Just hit that subscribe button. Don't be selfish. Be generous. Give me that subscribe, and it helps the channel out. It helps me out. Hey, who doesn't want to help a brother out? So go ahead and hit that HBO special, which stands for Help a Brother Out Special. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and you will be notified when I upload new videos and content, as well as when I go live, because James has some plans, and I'd like you guys to be a part of it. All right, let's get it. Let's talk about it. Now, early on, when Kody and the family first started presenting the whole idea of polygamy and why it should be legalized and why they are outcasts and they're the Robin Hoods, basically, of marriage, and Robin Hoods, get it? But they're the heroes of freedom and this, that, and other. What it came down to for me was, it's not about, as the Kody had often said, it's about sex and controlling who you can sleep with and who you can make babies with, and they're all concerned about what's happening in their bedrooms, and society needs to grow up and be more mature, and they try to align themselves with the LGBTQ plus community, especially as Leon started to emerge as not just the regular cookie cutter out the box kid of a polygamist, and they started to come into their own. Then all of a sudden it's, oh, we're just like them. We have the same struggles. We have the same issues. If they get to choose who they want to be with, we should be able to choose who we want to be with. And they've even gone as far as to talk about the legislature creating laws and all this type of thing. And they created this sort of straw man. Now, before I start talking about the straw man fallacy, let's go over what the straw man fallacy is, so that we're all kind of operating from the same page. If I use a term, I like to define a term so we all know what we're talking about. Even though some people may be familiar with it, I like to give my definition so that way you know how I'm using it. So here it is. Straw man fallacy occurs when someone takes another person's argument or point, distorts it, or exaggerates it in some kind of extreme way, and then attacks the extreme distortion as if that is really the claim the first person is making. When politicians and people in the legislature are trying to decide whether polygamy is a viable form of legally recognized union between two individuals or entities, or multiple individuals and entities, they have to come up with not who's sleeping with who and who's making babies with who, because you can go out and make as many babies with as many people as you want. Kody Brown will never be arrested for having 18 children that he's not taking care of. He will never be arrested for that. The only way he would get in trouble with that is if any one of the wives, quote unquote wives, took him to court and got child support. And they put him on child support and he didn't pay it. But even during that time, he would have due process rights where he would have the opportunity to go forward and say, look, I can't pay her $1,000 a month for her one child when I got 17 other kids to take care of. Because they would all have to take that all into account. There is due process in place. The problem is that when you talk about polygamy and the very politics of polygamy, where I struggle with it is the idea or notion that you have individuals who come together, and when people come together, everybody's got the rose-colored glasses and they think that it's going to be great and it's going to be wonderful. As with any other relationship, monogamous relationships work that same way. When you get with somebody, all of a sudden they're the bee's knees. They would never hurt me. Everything going to be awesome. If we ever break up, they're going to take care of me, and we always going to look out for one another. But then the breakup happens. And that's the part of the legislation or legislature where that has to come into question. What happens if we recognize these as marriages and these are equal wives and no wife has more power or rights than any other wife? What happens when one of those wives no longer wants to be in the family? And that creates a complication. As it stands now, if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend and you have a bank account that is all yours, you have that bank account, and every week your check is deposited into that bank account. If you add your girlfriend's name to that bank account, that girlfriend can go and empty that bank account anytime she wants. And you have no recourse to go to the court and say, hey, Your Honor, it's not fair. She emptied the bank account out. She had a right to do so. Now, what the polygamists are asking for is similar to somebody saying, no, Your Honor, they took out a bunch of money that was mine. I want the court to sit down with me and go through each check deposit that I had going to the bank. I want them to go through each one of the transactions that occurred out of that account, find out whether it was for bills or for rent or for entertainment that involved me, or entertainment that involved her boyfriend and she was sneaking up behind my back. and I have to tell you right now, there's not a court in the land that will do that. Nobody is doing that. And that's for a monogamous. Imagine if there's 4 or 5 other people. Your Honor, we all bought a house together. I want to leave, so I want my share of the house. You can't force people to sell their property. You can't force people to dispose of their property. You can't force people to do anything with their property. So you are stuck. Hey, this is Eddie James. This also goes directly to the point of where Janelle has the property on Coyote Pass. She cannot improve on Coyote Pass, nor can she add structures or even a home onto any part of Coyote Pass where somebody else's name appears on the deed without express permission from said person. So for instance, if she wants to build on that plot of land where everybody agreed that she would put her house, if Kody or Robin's name appears on that deed, I believe Kody, Robin, and Mary's name appeared on that deed historically, then she cannot do anything with that land without their express permission. Back to the show. And that's one of the things that legislatures and politicians and elected officials have to take into account. Courts have to take that into account. When you get married, what the law as presented to the audience by the Brown family in Utah, where they said that you can't pretend to be married, and everybody came out and said, I can't use my imagination. I can't pretend to be married. Why is that offensive to everybody? That's not what's offensive. What's offensive and what's scary to people is the idea that you telling people that you're married, yeah, people might be fooled and people may be tricked by the idea that you're married. It creates a false sense of security for everybody who is involved. These laws aren't there to protect the banks and the other people and the people in the community, the people in your church. These laws are actually in place to protect the wives and the children in the polygamy cases that present themselves in Utah. Because what has happened historically? You'll have Janelles who are sitting there year after year, decade after decade, pouring all their finances and all their time, energy, and effort into a family, only to have that husband decide that he no longer wants them in the family, or the wife decides that she no longer wants to be in the family, and she has to make the unenviable decision that she wants to walk away from that family with nothing. And I know some of you are going to say, but James, that sounds like something you're just kind of putting together, because that's not what's presented on the Brown Family Show, Sister Wives. And I'm here to tell you that this must be your first time at the show. Because James brought the receipts. Now, here's my first receipt. This is a discussion or a debate, as the Brown family. It started out as a discussion. I don't think everybody was prepared. Like the one group of people who came out to talk with the Brown family, I think they were coming out to do an informal discussion. The Brown family came on for bear, like they were going to fight them after the discussion. So they came to argue and fight and fuss and cuss and holler, and the other people didn't come prepared. So this is the discussion that happened at UNLV. I believe this is season 5 of Sister Wives. Let's take a look.
I understand your concern in wondering if we're free, because I'm sure from the stereotypes you've seen that you would wonder that. Kody actually said specifically, look, if you're not happy, I will give you money and you can leave. If that's what's holding you back is money, that means nothing. You get your freedom.
Now it's presented by Christine, ironically, during this session at UNLV. She presents the idea that Kody takes the position that if you're not happy here, you can leave because nobody's a prisoner. And not only will he give you your freedom, but he will buy you a house and give you money so that you can be happy. Now that sounds wonderful. That sounds like something everybody in these types of situations would say when they first start dating somebody. And then you first get married and everything is wonderful, because in relationships, everything is wonderful in the beginning. Everybody gets along, and hopefully you wouldn't marry somebody who you think would eventually screw you if the marriage falls apart. And that's what they're trying to protect against. That's the whole idea. It's not that they're trying to be prejudiced against your sexual appetites. It's just that they're trying to protect families against this type of situation where you're being told that. Imagine you're 17 or more to the point, 18, 19, 20 years old as a young lady, and a guy comes to you at 30 years old, got a wife, and he's telling you, yeah, if you could join our family, it'd be great, it'd be awesome, and because they selling them with all the good stuff. Oh yeah, you're always going to have somebody around, you're going to have help, and you have guidance, because we're here to try to build you up and make you the best you as possible. We always going to look out for you. We're a family. You're never going to be alone. When it's time for you to start having children of your own, you'll have kids and you're going to have help that's built in. You're never going to be by yourself. You're going to have assistants. You're going to have sister wives who are going to come down and make sure that you're okay and you're straight. We're going to have wealth because everybody in the family works and they pull their own weight. It's going to be amazing. Then you get married and it's not amazing. It's something different. And you spend your years being told that this is the way it's supposed to go. And every time you buck up and say, nah, this doesn't feel right, maybe this isn't for me, you have somebody like season 16 or season 17, Robin. I don't understand why you want to break up. It don't make no sense to me. There's nothing that happened that makes you want to leave. So you have that situation. Then all of a sudden you decide you want to go. It's not just the money. Because you very well may leave and be able to be okay with walking away from this household with nothing. But what happens when your then husband, looks at you and says, well, if you leave, you're leaving without the kids. Because frankly, you don't have a place to stay. You don't have any income. You don't have any money. You're not taking my kids to go sleep on the street or go sleep on somebody's couch. And I have to tell you that in that situation, there's not a court in the world that's going to award children to a homeless person, somebody who doesn't have a home. When a parent has a home and they have a way to take care of the child financially, You can walk away, and that's one of the things that a lot of monogamous people were using, financial controls that were being used as an abusive form of controlling spouses. That's one of the problems. That's why you have the laws you have in place now as far as alimony, palimony, child support, so on and so forth. Because there were situations where people were being abused because they couldn't leave or they had to follow certain rules or guidelines. If not, they run the risk of running afoul of this person and losing custody of their kids or losing a place to stay or losing their financial security. And this is one of the arguments, and I would be more than willing to say that polygamy is something that everybody should be free to do and participate in if we could get around some of these bigger issues. I think that when push comes down to shove, it's about information. Whether it's monogamous relationships, homosexual relationships, whatever your orientation is, whatever your freak closet is, your freaky deek is, your secret freak, or whatever you want to call it, your trick freak, whatever it is, you should be able to participate in it as long as you have capacity to do so, meaning that you're of age to make the proper decisions for yourself. 2, you have all the information. I think that that's a key thing. You have to be informed. And part of being informed is when you have the ability to pretend that you're married and it's not against the law, then there's a possibility that you are misinforming the people, especially young folks who are coming into these types of marriages, about their actual situation. Now, this is an example of the house that the Brown family wanted to purchase. It was going to be one home. They were going to put it on Coyote Pass. It was supposed to have different sections for each one of the wives. It's a beautiful home, as you can tell. But had they purchased this home, had they done this, then the direct result would be the following still.
I can't believe I'm 50 and I can't even do my own thing. Because I'm so tied up with them financially and I can't do anything. I'm stuck. I can't believe I got myself into this position. How dumb is that? I know better.
And it's the idea that Janelle has to sit there and say, how dumb is that? How stupid am I that I found myself in this position where I have to walk away with nothing? This isn't Janelle's fault. This is part of the decisions that are being made, that are being propagated to people who aren't informed about what could happen. They're sitting there and they're entering into these relationships without protection. Now, we could make the argument that we should try to find a way to protect them, which is fine. Let's make that argument. But the truth of the matter is, if we're very honest, men like Kody Brown and his ilk, although they want to sit there and say that they want the protections of legal marriage, the truth of the matter is that they don't want to engage in legal marriage. They want the exact same protections that they had, because when everything fell apart, I didn't hear Kody decrying that he's going to make sure that Janelle is whole. This woman has spent the last 30 years of her life working and contributing financially to this family. And she's walking away from this family after 30 years with nothing. You know, if you work most jobs, you get at least a damn watch. They didn't even give her a freaking band, rubber band to go walk out the door with. She has nothing. Kody won't call her. He doesn't return her calls. He doesn't call her, their minor child, Savannah, to see how she's doing, even though she had nothing to do with the argument. But wait till Janelle comes in there and talks about she wants to move back to Utah. You can't take my daughter away because I need to control you. And that's part of the problem. These people are not willing to give up that kind of control entering into these types of marriages and relationships. No matter how much they talk about it, they just want the ability to have all the rights and all the freedoms to be able to declare that this person or that person is their wife. But in most cases, they're not trying to put their names down on social program documentation saying that, yeah, I'm working with them. And yeah, although they may be making this amount of money, there's 6 of us working. We're bringing in 6 checks, and one of us is doing really, really well. So therefore, we don't qualify for a lot of the social programs or social assistance programs that we would. They're not doing that. And that's part of the reason why they're not going crazy trying to get legislation or try to figure out the legislative hurdles that they would have to figure out. Because in order for them to actually sit down and start talking about doing legislation, they would have to come up with a way that these women could walk away from these marriages with something that's directly reflective of the contribution that they've made to these weddings or to these marriages, to these families, and to these unions. There's no company in the world where you are joined in a civil union. If Coke and Pepsi get together and they decide they want to do some business and they have a merger, there's no way in the world Pepsi is walking away from Coke with $0 and no assets. There's a reason why things are in place the way they are. Now, you can try to color it with religion, and if you wanted to just be a religious ceremony, you already have that. You had a religious ceremony where you say you're husband and wife, and that's fine. But what they're actually crying for is the ability to say that they have a legal marriage. This is their legal husband, their legal wife. They have the same rights and responsibilities as any other legal partner. The problem is that there's no way for us to be able to determine, without making substantial changes to like property laws, asset laws, so on and so, real estate laws, et cetera, as to how you would be able to divide that property. Would it be fair if Robin came into the family and she married Kody, was married to Kody for a year, and she had that legal marriage? Christine had the legal marriage, Janelle had the legal marriage, and Mary had the legal marriage. Robin comes into the family, married to him for 6 months to a year. She decides, hey, this ain't working for me. I can go. I'm going to leave now, but I want my cut before I go. I want you guys to sell the Lehigh house that you've been living in, and I want you to give me my share. Because that would be a thing. Because let's keep in mind, unless there's a prenuptial agreement, there is a prenuptial agreement. And a prenuptial agreement is state law. Or divorce law. Divorce court is the agreement. So unless you have an agreement between you and your spouse prior to you getting married, then the agreement is basically what the law is, or what the statute is, or what the case law is. So if the case law or the statute is at the time that a wife deserves to have equitable division of said property, then that takes place on day one. When she gets her paperwork back from the Register of Wills or the folks down at City Hall, she gets her paper back and she gets her marriage license, she immediately has the same rights as the person who's been married to him for 40 years. And she could walk away with her 1/4 of his estate. And so this is something that I think we need to have a bigger discussion about, especially as we start to talk about the TLC polygamy propaganda program starting to fall apart, and it's starting to reveal the darker side of polygamous marriages and what could actually happen to you, because this is America's favorite polygamy family, and now they're no longer polygamous. Now we actually get to see what happens and how these people conduct themselves when put to the test. It's easy to sit on a stage and declare that you're going to give money and refuge and you're going to buy houses for folks when your marriage isn't falling apart. Now I want to see that in action. That's my take. I'm James. This has been my take on reality, and I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I